Hello, good evening, and welcome to tonight's show. This is Majority Caucus live on your multi-TV. My name is Ali Dawood, and I'll be your host, as usual, for tonight's discussion. As part of my introductory remarks this evening, I say my heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Vice President Aliu Mahama. May Almighty Allah rest its soul in absolute peace. And also would want to say thank you, the good people of Ghana, for mourning in unity in this moment of grief. It is also on this note, although it saddens my heart to state that I find the conduct of some element within the MPP very, very unbecoming. Point in case is Yabuabin Asamoah, the Deputy Communication Director of the MPP, who, when the President declared 5 days of national mourning, was quick to mount onto the political platform, organizing a series of press conferences here and there. And I think that his conduct is most shameful, is anti-nationalism. It is a conduct that must be condemned in no uncertain terms by all well-meaning Ghanaians. I also take this opportunity to remind Yabuabin Asamoah that it is so unfair, as part of his press conference, to misconstrue the statement of the late President Mills, may he so rest in peace, also to suit his political agenda. I think that he should grow above this level of pettiness. It is so uncouth. It is disgusting. It is. I'll leave the rest for my guest in the studio tonight to delve into it more detailed. And tonight I have with me the Honorable Deputy Minister for Interior, Honorable Kobi Achampon, and with me we will be discussing security, corruption, character in general, as regards the conduct of 2012 election. Thank you very much, Honorable, for your time here.
Thank you.
How is the campaign going?
Well, pretty much it's going very well.
Are Ghanaians safe?
Oh yes, Ghanaians are very, very safe.
How sure are we?
Well, we are on top of our game, and if you observe closely, with the exception of today, you haven't heard of any major upheavals with regards to the campaigning. Therefore, that tells you that the National Election Security Task Forces that we have set up to provide security before, during, and after the elections are working very hard to maintain the peace so that we can have a peaceful election.
Your opponents are accusing you of adopting a partial approach to issues of national concern regarding security. You are investigating Anthony Kabo. We refuse to do the same for Yabuabin Asamoah.
Well, I don't think that is the truth. We've come a long way as a country, and we need to go beyond some of these polemics. It doesn't help us. If you look at the Yabuabin Asamoah's case, he was investigated by the National Security Coordinator himself. And by virtue of that investigation, nothing incriminating was found in the statements he made. Likewise, Anthony Kabo's statement is being investigated by the Criminal Investigations Department together with the BNI. Of course, what is interesting is the angles which he took in his statements leaves much to be desired. If we talk about bringing in people from outside to come and cause mayhem in an election, you bring in people from Liberia, you bring in people from Cote d'Ivoire, you bring in people from Togo. It means you are introducing the element of mercenaries into our system, and that is certainly not a comfortable position for any government to sit down without looking at it closely. And therefore, that is what we are looking at. In the first place, he has denied that was his voice.
Yeah.
I believe when he goes he goes to see the investigative bodies, he's going to provide voice samples. Okay. Once he's provided the voice samples, that will be merged, and then the conclusion will be drawn whether it was his voice or not. So the investigation is currently unfolding.
Was this action, propelled by the press conference held by one advocate group, Research and Advocate, led by Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, because they made an official report?
Yes, they made an official report, and once somebody has filed an official complaint, it is incumbent on the police to set in motion an investigation that will look at the merits of whatever complaint they have made.
Okay, but quickly, not too long ago, the MPP presidential candidate Akufo-Addo admonished the president not to behave like Gbagbo, you know, the defunct leader of the Ivory Coast, in case he loses the 7th December 2012 elections.
Well, you know, I find some of his comments very distasteful. You know, at that level, when you are pursuing ambition to become a president, you don't make such childish statements. I'm saying childish because the president has, ever since he assumed office, promised that he would hand over to whoever is elected. He has said he will make sure the elections run peacefully. It will be fair and it will be transparent. So how then do you ascribe a Gbagbo-like situation to him when he hasn't made any indication that that is what he's going to do? You know, he calls people names, but when you call him names, then it becomes a whole different thing. I have a fundamental disagreement with his style of campaigning. That style is outmoded, period. It is outmoded.
What style is that?
You know, that abrasive, aggressive style. It is outmoded.
All guns blazing.
Yes, if he hasn't got anything to learn, he should learn from Mitt Romney in the US. And he should learn from the Republican Party. Today, nobody wants to touch the Republican Party with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because it's that same old style of politics that doesn't bring anything to the table. It doesn't ascribe to any solutions to the country's problem. Just calling people names and claiming they will be like this and that is not what Ghanaians need. Ghanaians need real solutions to the problems that they have. And therefore, when you're a presidential candidate of that type, you should stay above the fray and do what is presidential. You don't behave like a street thug.
Indeed. But let's even look at Akufo-Addo as a person. Really, I mean, I have seen some report that has captured his refusal to concede the 2008 election when he lost, and whether or not Akufo-Addo has the moral grounds to be making such, you know, comments.
Well, that is the fact of the matter. You know, it took him a very long time to accept the fact that he had lost that election. And even in his so-called concession speak, he wasn't very straightforward conceding. So that is the kind of person. He should rather call himself a Gbagbo person and not refer to the president as a Gbagbo
Indeed,
person.
that is very interesting. And after that, also not too long ago, we heard him about this ethnocentric comment that he made, Yana Kamfo and all that be dying. I think, do you see him as a security threat, really?
Well, he is a security threat. Obviously, he is, even though he would not say he's a security, but he is. If you look at the Center for Strategic and International Studies of the US, they had a report that basically tore into him, telling him that the ethnic angle that he was taking with regards to his politicking is very dangerous for a country like Ghana. And he has not stopped, you know, and his followers have also not stopped. I mean, you've had the National Youth Organizer saying if they do not win elections, the country will be like Afghanistan. Somebody like Samuel Awuku saying that one of alliances, you know, all those things. These kinds of language doesn't help because it is the kind of warped mentality that they have, that they think aggressive and pursuing force is the only way you can win an election. It is outmoded, seriously.
But really, I mean, it looks like, is that what their supporters want to hear? Because they are not complaining.
Of course, you wouldn't expect the supporters to complain. When the leader talks tribal and his followers accentuate the tribalism, you expect the people on the ground to raise their hands? No. But you see, they are doing this because they've not seen a war-torn situation before, because Ghanaians mostly are very peaceful people. You know, the late President Kwame Nkrumah, by virtue of the policies he pursued, has made us a very well-integrated society. And therefore, when you touch one person, you basically touch another person. I mean, look at our boarding schools. We went to boarding schools with different people from different tribes, and we all live together. That is what we've grown up with, you know. And therefore, it becomes very difficult for this country to plunge into chaos. But there are so many other examples that are bound for people to see. Ivory Coast is one, Sierra Leone is one, Liberia is one. Even Togo went through
immediate neighbors.
Our immediate neighbors went through that. You are seeing one unfolding in DR Congo, in the Kivu region, where the Tutsis have taken up arms, and today they have entered Goma, one of the biggest towns in that area. It's on tribal grounds. So anybody who preaches tribalism with regards to a country's politicking is not somebody that anybody should take serious. He doesn't actually even deserve to be a president.
Okay, but let me take my break. When we come back, we'll look at Akufo-Addo's character as a politician, really, vis-a-vis corruptions and other matters. Stay with me. I will be right back. Welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, this is Majority Caucus live on your multi-TV. With me in the studio is Honorable Kobia Champon, the Deputy Interior Minister. We've been discussing character and security so far. But before I move on to my guest, I think that the conduct, as I stated in my introductory remark, of Yao Boabin Asamoah recently is most embarrassing. To jump onto the political campaign platform a day after the burial of the late vice president, who has been the longest serving vice president, and a member of the MPP, I think it's most embarrassing. I know many people who have complained that Yao Boabin Asamoah, has no shame, has no respect for the bereaved family, and that what is this haste when 5-day national mourning has been declared. I think that he needs to tread cautiously. Otherwise, what he succeeds in doing is to set the tone for a very dangerous style of campaigning where MPP will be seen to be, perhaps anti-Northerners. They are not taking the death of Aliu Muhammad that serious. I think it is very, very embarrassing. And then the MPP rank and file should call him to order. Honorable, before the break, you were talking about security. I have heard, I do not know if it is right, some rumors that Akufo-Addo has been engaged in some surreptitious meetings with the security couples.
I wouldn't necessarily say surreptitious, but he had a security event.
Okay.
And he brought in a number of retired police and military personnel and talked about security. But basically everything he said was level accusations. Okay. He never proffered any solutions to the myriad of problems that our security agencies face. Because, look, let's be very real here. Under the NDC administration, we have retooled and re-equipped the military and the other security agencies, particularly those under the Ministry of the Interior. The fire service is adequately resourced. That is why they were able to function effectively when the Melcom disaster broke. Okay. They have 126 new fire tenders. We've also procured for them 55 new double cabin pickup trucks. If you look at the Ghana Immigration Service, we recently handed over to them 20 new vehicles. Look at the Ghana Police Service. We are purchasing 1,300 vehicles for the Ghana Police. Okay. Light-skinned vehicles. We are also bringing in for them new, route control equipment, including new vehicles. One of them, the route control vehicles are known as the Mavericks, the top-of-the-line equipment for such things. And therefore, for any opposition candidate to go and talk about security issues, he will basically have nothing to say, because during their 8-year period, they never re-equipped their security agencies. If you look at the army is also benefiting. We've commissioned 6 new naval vessels. A country that is producing oil must definitely protect its territorial waters, and we are doing that. We have also re-equipped the Ghana Air Force. We had pilots who sat down for 8 years, never had planes to fly. Today they have planes to fly. We've bought new communication wing aircraft, the Caesar planes that are being used. In fact, one of them conveyed the mortal remains of the former Vice President Aliu Muhammad to Tamale and took President
I saw that on TV.
Yes, exactly. That is what we have done. So we have retooled and re-equipped the security services. And you can see that they are functioning effectively. If you look at just even today, Honorable Kandapa was attacked by a number of armed robbers about 2 months ago. Okay. Today, the police have successfully apprehended those people who did that. Once you equip security agencies, they will give up their best, and that is what is happening. And I'm not surprised that Akufo-Addo can go and level accusations at somebody like General Nunu Mensah, saying he's campaigning in the barracks and all that stuff. These are all baseless, useless accusations, and it shouldn't come from a presidential candidate.
But let's be fair, at least he was bold to promise them that the single spine salary structure that they are benefiting from currently will not be touched.
Well, this man is all into promises. That's all he's doing.
And that is not going to turn them into farmers.
I thought that was very insulting.
Indeed, I agree.
You cannot touch the single spine because that's a salary regime that governs the emolument, so you can't touch it. If you want to promise something that is tangible. I heard he was promising scholarships or educational opportunities for the members of the Ghana Armed Forces. They have it.
Already.
They already have it. They're enjoying it. I mean, the Kofi Annan Center is there. They have the opportunity to go on peacekeeping. They have the opportunity to travel outside and join other military establishments outside for training. So what is he talking about? And telling them that you're not turning them into farmers is denigrating our farmers. Farming is a noble profession. People do it because it's a livelihood. They make incomes from it. They subsist on it. They raise their families on it. And therefore, if you tell soldiers that you'll not turn them into farmers, what exactly are you telling the farmers? That they are not worth anything in this country? Come on.
Well, I have heard some comment from certain quarters that in the next few days, some group of farmers are going to issue a statement to that extent, and that Akufo-Addo should render an unqualified apology and retract that statement that he made.
Yeah, he must apologize, because that is a very denigrating statement to come from somebody who aspires to lead this country.
Indeed.
Would he, as on the unlikely events he become president, will he ever attend a Farmers' Day celebration?
I'm sure he will.
When you say you won't turn soldiers into farmers, you're putting farmers as second or third class citizens.
I see. But let's come to that aspect of character, which is very serious and key. Corruption.
Well, you know, when the NPP talks about corruption, I always cringe, because if there's one political party that has the knack to be corrupt and is corrupt, it's the New Patriotic Party.
How so?
I mean, look, this is a party who spent 8 years just doing procurement politics. You understand procurement politics?
Perhaps we could shed some light.
Listen, this is a deal. Let me put some on top of it. Take my cut, you get your cut, everybody goes home happy. What they forget is that the nation suffers from these kind of things. Okay. That is why the country is saddled with a lot of judgment debts. You see, Ghanaians do not do introspection of things. This whole Wyoming thing that has come and is being made like an albatross hanging around the NDC's neck was caused by no other person than President J. Akufo. A whole, what do you call it, tender board went through a process and selected some companies to engage in a contract. He went to Shanghai, came back and said, forget about everything that you've done, which was within the ambit of the procurement law. Yeah. I have brought my company, give that contract to them. That is the genesis of this. But conveniently, the NPP always forgets about it, because when you trace everything back, it goes to the doorstep of former President Akufo. How could a president take this decision? This was a president who was sitting in negotiations for the sale of telecom. Is that his responsibility?
At all.
No, it's about money. It's about what he can get out of it. So that is their nature. But let me go to the Auditor General's report of 2005 and look at their presidential candidate. When Nana-Addo was the Minister for Foreign Affairs, 1,446,396 cash was withdrawn from the ministry's special collection account of 7 embassies without the knowledge of the Controller and Accountant General.
Under Akufo-Addo.
Under Akufo-Addo's watch. What was he doing as a minister? Serious. This money was taken without his, you know. In addition, $106,168 was misappropriated at Ghana's embassy in Cote d'Ivoire. These are all good sums of money. You know, under his watch, we sold our embassy in Washington, D.C. for a pittance.
That is serious.
Under surreptitious circumstances that the building was sinking. Meanwhile, the building today is standing. A Korean man bought it and he has renovated it, and the building is still standing. That is how corrupt they were. I mean, there are so many things lined up here. I mean, things that they did that are all corrupt practices. And yes, they have the nerve to come and sit on air and talk about corruption.
Well, he said he's incorruptible, and
please,
he demands same from his
if you are a minister, if you are a minister of a government ministry, and an amount of money goes missing from a special collection account, and you don't say anything about it, what should be said of you? You are not responsible enough, because you are the head and the buck stops with you.
Let's look at judgment debt.
Well, I know of the Great Cape Company.
Yes.
Where he wrote letters to the then Attorney General emphasizing that company should be paid for a judgment there that had occurred almost 10 years ago. And they had written back to the Attorney General saying in their calculations they made a mistake. Now,
I would want you to expatiate on this point, but before we do that, let me go for a quick break. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. This is Majority Caucus live on your multi-TV. Tonight, you would realize that I begin my show with some remarks on the conduct of Yabuabin Asamoah. I think that his conduct lately is going and flying way and above the boundaries of civility, and I think it is most unfortunate. It is about time that he re-examines his life and would want to do what is most decent and what is very, very moral. Yeah, Honorable, you were telling me about the issues of corruption regarding court judgment.
Yes, you know, there was a company called the Great Cape Company.
Okay.
That company had filed a claim against the government of Ghana. And as far back as the 90s, if I recollect. Now, they come back in the year 2011 or 2010 and claim, in their calculation of their claims against government, they made a mistake. After 10 years, you come back and say you've made a mistake. Now, who is supporting this claim that they were making? No other person than Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who, as Attorney General, must have seen those documents, did not ask whether the information you provided to secure that judgment that was correct, but now writes to the Attorney General supporting the fact that 10 years ago their calculation was wrong. I mean, come on. I mean, what kind of integrity do you have to engage in some of these things? Somebody who, I mean, I'm wondering what went on. I mean, did he forget that then as an Attorney General, he should have looked through some of these things carefully before passing them as judgment date?
As part of their recently held series of press conferences, they raise issues about Cuban scholarship and the president paying for what is meant to be free.
You see, I'm not surprised at the MPP. It's their old style of campaigning. And they believe strongly that the number of lies you tell a day make you a winner. But you see, that's the opposite. You can't lie your way through political power. It doesn't resonate with the people. You know, all these Amajaro, Cuban scholarships are all verifiable. They are happy on it because they don't have anything to throw at the president anymore.
Including XTX.
Yes, and let me tell you why. Look, this president, since July, when former President Mills died, has led this country in a very able, skillful, resilient manner. You understand? And he has not done anything out of the box. He's done it within the confines because he has such a short time to take over and run the country so that people will be happy. And he has done that. Look, for any leader to lose two key people, a president and a former vice president, and still keep the country running peacefully and calmly, is a feather in his cap. And that is what is irking them because, look, they would have expected that he would have made so many mistakes as a new kid on the block, but he's not making any mistakes. That tells you that he got good training.
And is it also because he had many opportunities to...
That's exactly what I'm saying. He got good training as vice president. Because former President Mills gave him the leeway to take on the leadership role. And he excelled at it. So he's just settled naturally into that position. And when somebody has settled naturally into a position and he's executing carefully and strategically, he is very difficult to beat at the polls. And that is what is irking the MPP. That's why they are throwing all kinds of mud, hoping that some of it will stick. But you see, what they forget is that the Ghanaian voter is very, very, very discerning. They can see through all of these things.
And reading between the lines. Let's look at Akufo-Addo. Character as a person. You know, I have read somewhere in the WikiLeaks report that he has very poor organizational skills, among many other deficits.
Well, you know, let me tell you something that I observed. Malcolm disaster. Every person who visited there had an easy flowing garb, that's clothes, because you are going to a disaster site. He was the only person who appeared there in a tie and a suit.
Oh, that's serious.
Out of place. Completely out of place. Ali Muhammad's funeral. Everybody there was in something dark, signifying a mourning period. He was the only person there who came in white.
Was he happy?
The question you want to ask you, was he happy that the man had died? You know, these are things that tell about your character. And I have said he has a very hot-wired brain. There are certain things he does without thinking about them carefully. For instance, how could you say, yeah, I can fall? How could you say, all die be die, when you want to be a president of a country? Espousing ethnic sentiments and saying you must win at all costs. Listen, this is an election. This is not a battle. It's an election. And it's a battle of ideas. If your ideas rule, the country will vote for you. If your ideas are not good, the country will not vote for you. Just like in 2000 when he had all the bad ideas, the country didn't vote for him. This year he's promoting the same thing. He wants to run this whole campaign on a single issue. Initially they tried Woyome. Now Woyome has fallen through the cracks, so now they are on free SHS. And it is now falling through the cracks. How can you run a whole election on just one issue? Free. Because you think Ghanaians are not discerning enough to see through your free? Please. You know, I keep on telling you, the Republican style of politicking is outmoded. And that's what the New Patriotic Party is best known for. Attack, aggressive, abrasiveness. That's all they do. You understand? But people have moved on. This time, it's about ideas. And your ideas should have solid grounding, very solid grounding, you know. And once the ideas are very solid, people can understand and relate to it, then you are going somewhere. But not these aggressive and baseless accusations that every now and then they level. You, between now and Friday, they'll come out with another press conference and come and make another wild claim.
Led by
From next week, they'll come out with another press and make another wild claim. That is not what Ghanaians are interested in.
Indeed. With that same personal attribute, I want us to look at what Caucus Indum did. Well, he said that he has gone for a medical checkup. The report is out, it's made public, and therefore he's very confident that when it comes to the health status of his body, and he's free. But then other argument was that the Constitution has given specific modalities of what kind of test even should be done. Some people have suggested toxicology because they believe some aspirant may be engaged in smoking some illegal drugs and all that.
Well, that is something that has to be done. But you see, I believe Caucus Indum is doing what I call political gymnastics. You know, I mean, look, if you are president of this country, you have the best of health available to you. You understand? Going to take a health test before running for president is not perhaps the big thing that Ghanaians are interested in. You understand? Because Ghanaians are interested in the solutions you are bringing to the table at this particular time. And that's what is key. Toxicology test, yes, if I were a candidate against whom allegations have been made, that's one thing that I'll quickly do to dispel all the rumors.
Before you delve into the areas of toxicology, let me do this one exercise. I'll come back to you. Right. Stay with me. I will be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. This is Majority Caucus. I am in the studio with Honorable Kobi Achampong, Deputy Minister for Interior. Honorable, before the break, you were telling me about toxicology as to whether it will determine the infirmity of mind demanded by Constitution.
That is true. But I'm saying for any candidate against whom intelligence agencies across the world have made such serious allegations, if I were running for president, one of the quickest things I would do is to clear away every doubt as to whether I use drugs or not. And I think Nana Akufo-Addo should lend himself to that, because a lot of the intelligence services have opined that he does that. In the WikiLeaks report, it is clearly stated. But you see, there's something that he has hidden from this country that needs to be known. Was Nana Akufo-Addo ever a student in Oxford University?
I've been wondering to ask.
Because I've read a number of articles that posit that, yes, he was a student in Oxford University. But if you look at his resume, that is completely taken out of it. Why is that situation existing? He needs to clear the air on some of these things, because if you went to Oxford is a very good school, and I don't expect anybody who went to Oxford to denounce the school or disown the school. But why is that not on his resume? I think something happened. That is why he's not putting that on his resume.
I've also heard some funny
So
remarks.
He needs to come out and start clearing the air on some of these things, because as a president, your integrity is paramount.
Indeed.
If you went to a school and for some reason you don't want to put that on your resume, then there must be a reason why you don't want that to happen. Or if you don't want people to see it, what was the reason? What happened exactly? You know, this is something that he must start dealing with, because in the final days of the campaign, he will have to answer a lot of questions on that. Why would you say you went to different schools when you went to Oxford University? Was he ever at Oxford? He should tell the public that.
I'll come back to take your views on the IEA coming off tomorrow. But before we do that, the phone lines to join in the conversation is 030221170124, 030221170124. IEA has been postponed to tomorrow.
Just tomorrow. Well,
expectations.
I don't think we should expect a lot of different things. I mean, in terms of...
I think, first of all, is the IEA right to want to sanction IARGA?
I just don't get them anymore. I mean, they are beginning to assume a certain level of power in this country, which is completely at variance with what the situation should pertain. You are an NGO, and you deal with people just because they are of volition want to deal with you. But when you begin to ascribe some powers to yourself, then you are getting out of hand. Look, if IARGA says for one reason or the other, he could not because he's not very well, you only have to sit him down and come to an amicable settlement on it. But trying to say that you have taken him off and then bringing him back doesn't...
Very dictatorial.
Yeah,
let me this caller. Jojo, hello.
Hello.
Jojo, good evening and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening, please.
Hello?
Yeah, there's this thing about the funerals and my brother they just talked that Nana was in white. Yes, for funeral issue, it doesn't matter what you wear to the ground. To me, that's my own view. Being wearing something white and what you have in heart for the disease matters than wearing anything. That's what I was saying.
Okay, thank you very much for your views. Yeah, Honorable.
Well, if he says he doesn't find anything wrong with it, fine. But we come from a society where we ascribe colors and symbols at very succinct events. Okay. And therefore, for me, I found it odd. He could have put on something that is dark in, a little dark.
That will match the occasion. Let me take Abu. Hello, Abu.
Hello.
Abu.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm calling from Sampa.
Okay.
Sampa. Like, I wanted to know the NDC man whether GM will come to Sampa because we were to come when the incident, Ali Imam, we lost our former vice president. So I want to know whether he will be coming.
Okay, I'm sure your question will be answered. Honorable, he wants to know.
Well, I'm not sure I'm the right person to provide you with such an answer.
We'll contact the campaign coordinator and we'll make sure that. Honorable, the IEA expectations.
Well, I was saying, I'm not expecting anything different. I would expect Nana Akufo-Addo to go on the attack and attack and attack and attack. And I would expect President Mahama to spend time putting out the vision of the NDC. You see, we are in the final stages of the campaign, and therefore he should be closing his argument that he's been making all along. So he will spend time closing the argument, and he will make very simple, analytical, logical statements and facts backed by figures that would earn him the ability to close this argument very carefully with the Ghanaian electorate. And as for Abu Sakara, I would expect him to continue to play his spoiler role, and Hassan Ayaga, I think he will look at this debate differently from the first time and put up a very spirited performance.
Is it your view that the president acquainted himself or discharged himself properly?
Of course, the first time I saw him as having won that debate easily. He communicated clearly. He backed his argument with facts and figures, and that is what you do in debates, because then you have to differentiate the point you are making from what the other person is making. Okay. And he rebutted when he had to rebut. He just didn't rebut needlessly. You understand? And for me, that is the essence of debate.
Let me take John, and I'll come back to you. Hello, John.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Sorry for keeping you on the line.
Thank you for the good work that you're doing.
You're most welcome.
Nana Akufo-Addo is claiming for free GSS. As I'm talking, I'm a teacher teaching in Hot Hallway.
Okay.
When they came, they changed the textbook. As I'm now for class 1 to class 6, no RME textbook. Are they coming to destroy the SS again in addition to the edition? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your views. Somebody is worried about the
free
curricular. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, but you see, what people are not paying attention to, people make allusions to Kenya, that Kenya has started free SHS and all those things. Look, the people who started school, it took some of them 10, 15 years to complete school. If you read the report that came out from the American researcher, one student had to stop school every night because his parents couldn't afford, because government couldn't continuously provide the resources. And therefore, parents were supposed to chip in. And if your parent didn't have the kind of money, you had to drop out of school. It took one person, by the time he finished P6, he was 35 years. Is that what you want to happen? That's the thing. People are just looking at the word free.
I've been told Kenya had a similar.
They have a serious, right now they have a deficit of 80,000 teachers.
Well, the enrollment has increased.
Exactly, enrollment increases. Where are the teachers to complement the enrollment? And you must understand that in education, the student-teacher ratio is what enables the educational system to be called a qualitative one. Okay. You understand? Quality derives from the student-teacher ratio and other inputs that come in. Look, I have always said every child picks up what he needs for the rest of his life between age 6 months and 7 years. That is why it is important that every country should pay attention to basic school education.
Right from
As you sit here, you can remember all the rhymes you said at kindergarten. Because it served as the basis for your foundation, and you have built on it gradually. When you get to senior high school, you are building on that foundation that you started. When you get to university level, you are building on that foundation. And there are very strict things that you do at every stage. Senior high school level, you are acquiring knowledge left, right, and center. When you get to the university, you have acquired knowledge. You know how to do research. Get additional information. When you do master's level, you are learning how to work under pressure because they give you a lot of assignments. You have to meet deadlines. PhD, everything that you have crystallized in your life, you want to put it down as your philosophy. That's why you choose certain topics and work on them in your own time. That is what education is about. It's not about creating free levels where people can't pick the basic things. We must make our basic education truly free because that is the bedrock on which everything that we want to build will happen. If we don't make it truly free and we don't make it quality at that time, everything we are doing is just a waste of everybody's time.
But the issue also has been that how about you meet some of the cost burden, you know, try to make it free. Perhaps parents could use money meant for paying school fees for other, you know, purposes.
You see, that is ridiculous. If you're a parent and you want to educate your child, you plan to educate your child and you must provide the resources to educate that child. That is what it is about. It's not about balancing here and there. That means when there is a hitch somewhere, everything goes off the table. You plan to educate your. That's why even family planning specifies, look at yourself, look at your circumstance. How many kids can I have conveniently and put them through education so that they become better persons than I am?
Are you disappointed that certain men of God are beginning to what looks like running away from their own ways?
I have said time and again that if you are a man of God and you are a person who believes in what you say, you should be able to stand by what you say. It's just that simple.
Okay. So the NDC is after no person?
Of course. I mean, what Reverend Otabo did, if I was his PR person, I would have advised strongly against it. You don't do these things. I mean, look, he set the stage for what is happening to him now. You go into a press conference, use words like your statements have been spliced, diced, biscoated, contorted, whatever, and you are not able to prove a single of those allegations that you make, that your statements were spliced and diced. You have not been able to prove. When your organization is asked to produce the tapes that have served as a reference point for all this, you say you will not bring those tapes. What is the basis for that? And then you come to argue on a very flimsy one, which I thought was very needless, on it is my intellectual property. Please, you sell your messages. It is commercial property.
Okay.
And therefore, if people buy it, they are entitled to how they use it. They are not plagiarizing. They are not taking anything out of context.
Is the NDC, not to catch you quickly, not threatened by the seemingly,
you know,
the anti-Christian picture that
NDC is never anti-Christian.
Okay.
Where ICGC is sitting was acquired under the antecedents of the PNDC.
Okay.
Yes, so NDC has never been against. The same can be said for Action Chapel.
Okay.
Yes, we have never been anti-Christ or anti-Christian. That sentiment is a figment of somebody's imagination. I go to church, I worship, and therefore, what is it? You know, but let's be strict on what we say as leaders. You understand? If you're a preacher, you don't want to dabble in politics, stay away from the politics. But don't dabble in politics, and when you are taking on, you come back and call people names. You call people evil, Machiavellian. You use such strong words, and that is coming from a priest. And you are a priest who is benefiting from the word of God. Has he quoted any of the authors of the Bible? Yes. Does he consult them before he quotes them? No. You are making money out of it. And therefore, if people are using your statements, why do you come and call people names on such a matter?
I think his beef is simply that has been played for party parochial
But
interest.
you made them. Those were statements you made. Those were, and you see, people need to get back to when he made those statements. 2003, most likely. Do you remember in 2003, which government was in power?
It's the MPP.
It was the New Patriotic Party. Now, if you look at the promulgation of the country's constitution in 1992, the constitution said after 10 years, every government in power must completely implement the compulsory universal basic education, FQ.
Yeah.
Okay? Mensa Otabo, in my estimation, preached that message in defense of the MPP because they had not presented any concrete program to promulgate the FQ.
And
remember,
the
Professor Mills, yes,
them,
Professor Mills put pressure on them that implement the tenets of the Constitution, the FQ. So he preached that message that nothing is absolutely free. He didn't realize that 9 years down the line, somebody from the MPP will come and promise free education, and that will become a hot button issue. You understand? You must stand by your conviction. If you want people to take you seriously, you should stand by your convictions. Don't repudiate them at any twist and turn, because you send the wrong message to the people you are supposed to lead as a pastor.
And what saddens me most is that at the press conference, when he was asked a very fundamental question as to whether your views about free SHS has changed or free education in general has changed, he refused to comment.
Of course. Would you expect him to comment when he's done such a press conference? And I hear the recent seminar they had in their church, an American pastor told him point blank that there is nothing free as far as education is concerned.
Yeah. And even he said he doesn't care
whether he invites him next time or not. But he's just telling him straight off the head. And that is what it is. Stand by your conviction. That's what people will know you for. You stand by your conviction. As a pastor, you want to lead a flock, you must be able to tell them that when anything happens, I'll stand by what I preach.
But let's be fair, this exercise carried out by the Education Watch is benefiting the NDC.
No, it's, you see, that is what is called advocacy in a democracy. You understand? If you go into the United States, those abortion debates, those pro-life and pro-choice people, they do advocacy. And that advocacy has led them to what is known as Roe versus Wade in American politics, that a woman has a right to her body, and that if she gets pregnant, she can abort it. That is what it is. So advocacy is always good in our body politics, and it is necessary.
Okay, and I'm sure you'll be at the IA tomorrow.
Yes, hopefully I should be there.
I see. Thank you very much for coming, even though I know you have a very tight schedule. We are very grateful with my viewers. Unfortunately, on this note, we end tonight's discussion, but make a date with me on Thursday when I come your way with another explosive post-mortem about the IEA discussion right here in the studios of Multi TV. Till then, be good and stay blessed. Bye-bye.